The only thing that's been a real pain has been having to wait 10 months to see this movie again. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies. As part of my coverage of the 2024 Sundance Film Festival, today I'm going to be talking about the 2024 comedy drama, A Real Pain, which will release in theaters on November 1st. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content, like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. A Real Pain stars Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin, and Jennifer Grey, and was directed by Jesse Eisenberg. It tells the story of mismatched cousins who reunite for a trip to Poland following the death of their grandmother. It's wild just how many surprises there were at Sundance for me this year. I'm a meticulous planner in general, but I put so much time and effort and research into planning my festival schedule, so I usually know what I'm going to be doing every hour of every day before I even arrive. I guess you could say I'm like Jesse Eisenberg's character David in that sense, but I try to plan for some spontaneity. I realize that's an oxymoronic endeavor, but I always try to leave room for a few additional unplanned movies in my schedule. At most festivals, there's usually one great movie I discover thanks to this, but Sundance was just full of them this year. I almost didn't see A Real Pain. The description didn't really interest me, and honestly, even now with the trailers, I don't think I'd be sold on it. But the festival buzz was through the roof, so I watched it on my very last night in Park City. And man am I glad that I did, because this character-driven buddy road dramedy is much more than initially meets the eye. There are a lot of things about a film that can pull you in. Maybe it's the premise, or the performances, or even the cinematography. For A Real Pain, it was the strength of the screenplay that immediately struck me. Right from the get-go, the pace and dialogue draw you into this story, and things only improve with time. Eisenberg managed to craft an almost perfectly balanced, depressing, feel-good dramedy. Again with the oxymorons, I know, but that's what this movie is. It's exceptionally funny, and sometimes even a little silly or irreverent, but it's also very heartfelt and poignant, as the story winds its way through generational guilt and family history. The sharp, mile-a-minute dialogue will deservingly get much of the attention and praise here, but the overall screenplay is exceptionally well crafted, keeping what could have otherwise been a very meandering story engaging. It's thoughtful, relatable, and a little sad at times, but most importantly, it feels authentic. Speaking of authenticity, we've got to talk about the performances. There are a handful of smaller roles that nicely contribute to the story, but for the most part, this is a two-hander, focusing on a pair of cousins who couldn't be more different from one another. At this point, I think we're all familiar with Jesse Eisenberg's acting style. This writer, director, actor assumes a familiar role here, but is the quieter and more subdued of the two, for once not being the most neurotic character on screen. That honor instead goes to Kieran Culkin as Benji. He's outgoing, endlessly talkative, and completely without a filter. He's charming and funny, but also volatile, with a tortured depth to him that sees him frequently lashing out at others. Culkin's character is a bit much and could easily irritate some viewers, but his performance is definitely a standout element of this film. That said, it's the chemistry between Culkin and Eisenberg that ensures everything comes together here. Benji introduces spontaneity into David's life, and David provides at least a temporarily solid footing for Benji. They're extremely funny together and expertly banter, but there's also a degree of believable familial care there too. These two have an authentic connection with one another, so it's easy to believe that they're cousins. This movie has some moments of oddity and stressful or frustrating scenes, especially if you're somebody whose personality more closely aligns with that of Dave's, but underneath all of the humor and chaotic road movie expectations lies a very thematically touching story. It's a film about searching for connection, with family, with strangers, with a place, even with the past, but not necessarily always getting what you expect from that attempted connection. With their tour of Poland taking them to places like concentration camps and the stoop of their late grandmother's house, there's a lot of solemn pain on display in this film, as these characters grapple with their family history. But the more recent history between the cousins themselves, and Benji's personal mental health struggles, add an additional thematic layer to this story of familial love. It's a funny film, and one that'll probably leave most people feeling more uplifted than depressed, but it remains emotionally hard-hitting, especially as the double meaning of the film's title fully sinks in. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has got to be the performances, especially by Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin. We're all familiar with Eisenberg's acting style at this point, and I recognize that he can get a little irritating sometimes, but I think this might just be my favorite performance by him. He's still got that neurotic, fast-talking quality to him, but he wisely cast himself in the more subdued role of David here. Kieran Culkin, on the other hand, gets the loud, exceptionally talkative, and at times far more irritating role of Benji, a role that you'd probably normally expect Eisenberg to embody. But this casting decision was definitely the right choice, and Culkin nailed it with his combination of humor, magnetic charm, irritating volatility, and poignancy. In fact, I think he might be looking at an outside shot at an Oscar nomination. These two are great individually, but it's the authentic chemistry between them that really sells it. The second pro is the screenplay. I'm a sucker for witty dialogue and heartfelt stories, and this film manages to hit both aspects brilliantly. The dialogue here is so sharp and a constant source of entertainment. That is, until it makes you want to tear up. This is a screenplay that takes you on a tour of emotions as the cousins tour Poland. And although you'll probably leave the theater thinking of the movie as a feel-good comedy drama, it does leave you with a lingering sadness. It's a combination that doesn't seem like it should work, but somehow it does, thanks to the excellent writing and briskly paced story that knows not to overstay its welcome. On the con side, my only issues are just minor nitpicks. First, if you're somebody who likes a plot, the meandering nature of this story might be a bit trying. These characters are on a tour, so there is something that's always driving them forward at least, but there are some occasional moments of sidetracking. I will say, though, that even as a big plot person, the meandering here wasn't super noticeable or distracting because of how invested I was in these characters, and especially in finding out more about Benji. Speaking of Benji, he may also be a source of irritation for some audience members. He borders on being too much and too over the top at times, but even if you're not a big fan of this character in the midst of the movie, I think his role in the story will be worthwhile and meaningful to you by the end of the film. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying A Real Pain or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give A Real Pain 4 out of 5 paws. With a screenplay that's as sharply funny as it is hard-hittingly poignant, this film has much more to offer than its mismatched buddy road comedy premise would lead you to believe. Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin both deliver great performances in this funny and moving indie charmer about family and searching for connection. I would recommend A Real Pain to anybody in the mood to unexpectedly feel something today. This character-driven story will lull you into thinking it's just any other road comedy, but it's got some moving thematic seriousness and poignancy that sneaks up on you. Despite its moments of sadness, this one still plays as a feel-good comedy drama crowd pleaser. Existing fans of Eisenberg and Culkin will enjoy their performances here, but I think each of them may earn some new fans too. And if you weren't a big fan of Eisenberg's directorial debut when you finish Saving the World, I'd definitely suggest you give this one a shot, because I think you'll find it to be a big improvement. If you liked A Real Pain, I would recommend Sideways. This is another film about a slightly mismatched pair taking a road trip together, this time visiting a series of wineries in California. It stars Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church, and is another funny and emotional journey with its share of sad and offbeat moments. If you'd like another downbeat comedy drama about family reconnecting, you should check out The Skeleton Twins. There's no road trip, and its morbidly sad humor may not be for everyone, but Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader both give great performances in this drama about family. And if you want another family comedy drama that blends tones and emotions, you should check out The Savages. Another Sundance film picked up by Searchlight Pictures. It focuses on a pair of siblings who reconnect in order to care for their estranged father with dementia. It's another tender and funny film that explores the pain of family history, while still remaining at least semi-uplifting. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen A Real Pain? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what movie do you think features the most convincing family performance by unrelated actors? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe if you're at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.